Yo, what it do, YouTube, ladies and gentlemen? We are back, and it's finally the end of the season. We came to an end, and it was a scary one. And I did want to say before we start on record that I did mention that this was going to be a good game in the preview video, but I had two people say, nah, never mind. But we're gonna get into it. We got Landon and Michael with me. Michael, how we doing tonight, man?
We doing good, man. We doing good. Colts moved up to number 4 in the draft cycle. It was a good day. They took a L. Denver won. Felt all good. Um, I feel pretty good. I'm not showing it now, but I've got nerves and everything for obvious reasons in the next 24 hours. But I'm good. Today it was a good day to be a Colt. Good day. There is a light at the end of the tunnel.
Absolutely, absolutely. Landon, how we doing?
Same as mine, man. I'm doing fantastic. I'm living the dream. Got the Senior Bowl approvals back tonight. I know me and you will be at the Senior Bowl this year, so got that in. Colts moved up to 4 overall. Uh, Carolina won. I believe they dropped further in the draft as well. The more teams that we have that are quarterback needy that drop behind the Colts or drop further in their draft stock, it makes it a little bit harder to move up ahead of the Colts because they're going to have to give up a lot more capital. And it makes it easier for the Colts picking 4 overall to get up to where they need to get up to get who they want. So fantastic day. There was also some coaching news. We had some coaching news drop this morning. So makes things a little bit more interesting. I'm excited to get into the week because now this is where I shine. This is my favorite part. This is where we get into the draft, the off season, things that I spend months and months and months working on. It's finally coming to fruition. So I'm super excited. Glad to be spending the night with you guys talking about it here.
Yeah, man, absolutely. We're gonna go ahead and get the easy stuff out the way because I'm pretty sure we're gonna just dialect into different segments as we move forward. But we're gonna start about the game first. Well, first things first, I want to give a shout out to Zaire Franklin for breaking the tackle record. The dude has had a monstrous season, if you guys didn't know, but he did break the tackle record today. Shout out to him. You guys just want to share your quick thoughts about Zaire Franklin, about the season and the game he had today. Michael, you can go first.
Zaire Franklin, man, like I said, Pro Bowler. Should have been a Pro Bowler. To see that he's able to do this, first off, what a year to do it. Honestly, not entirely sure if Chris would get the okay from Jim Irsay because that's the kind of boat that we're in right now. Not sure if he'll get the go ahead, but I would like to see Zaire get a pay grade or an upgrade in pay this offseason. I think he definitely earned it. I think off this year alone, he already outplayed his 3-year, $10 million extension that he got this past offseason. But I'm excited for him, man. I'm so happy that he had this type of season. Like we've said many times before, really a special teamer the last 4 years of his rookie contract. Just a special teamer known as a, leader in the locker room, captain. And, last year got a couple, along with EJ Speed and others, got a couple of votes for all-pro special teams player. But to come out this year and have the year that he did, now we know him much more than being a locker room guy and a special teamer because this guy has arrived.
Absolutely, absolutely. Landon, let me get your thoughts about Zaire Franklin this season and him just breaking that record.
Man, I'm super excited for him. He's a guy that truly epitomizes the work ethic and the growth that a player experiences in the NFL if you're patient with him. Because before this year, there's been flashes last year, whenever he was in limited action, but he comes out this year and at a position of need because, as we know, Shaq Leonard banged up basically the entire year. He only played in a couple games, and that was a big question mark. Is like, how do the Colts go forward without Shaq Leonard? And he's stepped in and he's been tremendous, not only in making the correct tackles, leading that defense, from the linebacker position, but also in pass coverage. I think he's been extremely impressive, and that's one of the modern linebacker. That's not something he was really known for, and it's something that he's added to his arsenal. And I think he's had some really good, bright moments there. And unlike Mike, though, I will say he probably has one of the best value contracts in the entire NFL. Like not just the Colts, I mean, out of any player in the NFL. probably one of the top 5 values player contract in the NFL. So I think you got to hold on to that, at least, for a couple years and see what he brings you. And then you could kind of talk about, the extension and stuff. But
Boo!
look, I'm all for guys
Boo
getting
this man!
Yeah, that's right. I know. Look, I'm all for guys getting their money. I really am. I'm definitely player first. But
Yeah, right.
I mean, like with what the Colts are facing right now, like they have a lot of money tied up in the linebacker position already. So you got to take any advantage you can get right now, especially after just paying Quentin Nelson, Braden Smith. I mean, like we know that offensive line's hampering on a big chunk of change for that team.
So basically, I think there's another key element that I know what you mean, and I think what needs to be in the ears, in the minds of others when I say, give him a potential pay upgrade in pay. That potential upgrade in pay could possibly be EJ Speed's contract this offseason. That could possibly be that. So that could hamper that as well. So that's a great point by you. Obviously, I'm a homer for linebackers, but
well, he's a good one to be a homer for, and I'm excited for him. And hopefully he keeps this level of play up. Hopefully it's just not like a 1-year thing. And I think with the work ethic he has and who he is as a person and as a leader, I don't expect any drop off. I think, in all honesty, I think he just continues to improve. And he's somebody that I'm really excited to go forward with on this defense and on this team. And we could really end up needing him, here in the next couple of months. There's a good chance Okereke is not on this roster here in a few months, and EJ Speed's also a free agent. So that's a position of strength that could get very thin very quickly. So I'm excited for him though, and part of the reason why he broke that record is just because the defense was on the field like 75% of the season. But he made it count. He made the snaps count, and that's what it's all about. And I agree, he should be a Pro Bowl alternate for sure. I don't know if he is an alternate or not, but if there's not a lot of people on this team that deserve the honor of Pro Bowler. And the Pro Bowler we have, Quentin Nelson, he'll tell you straight up he didn't deserve it. It's just off his name recognition, but that's one of the few guys that I would point to that has completely earned that honor this season. So excited for him. Great player. Excited to move forward with him, and I want to thank him for providing a momentary bright spot in an otherwise dark season.
Yeah, 100%. Definitely another person we give credit to that you were mentioning that deserves to be in the Pro Bowl is Grover Stewart. I mean, Grover Stewart doesn't get enough conversation amongst the league and what he does as a presence as himself, beside DeForest Buckner. But, those two guys definitely deserves more credit than what they're usually getting right now. I know Colts fans will tell them all about it in the future, but moving forward into the game, we talked about Zaire and his credit, but we get to talk about the game now. And of course, the first person we got to bring up is most Colts fans' hero this season, Sam Ehlinger, Matt Ryan Jr. I would like to point out, Sam Ehlinger had himself one of those days. It was just unfortunate. He was just being like Nick Foles. You mentioned the quarterbacks ahead of him, like Nick Foles and Matt Ryan, and then he just picked up his bad habits. I truly feel like he picked up most of their habits. The statue stance from Nick Foles. You've seen that today from Sam Ehlinger. And the unnecessary throws that Matt Ryan does, you've seen that from Sam Ehlinger today. Shout out to Matt. He said he's so happy it's over. It is over. But we're going to start with Landon. Let me get your thoughts about Sam Ehlinger today and what the coach should do moving forward with him.
One, I had a tweet out earlier that I got absolutely flamed on, which is fine. I mean, that's part of it. Comes with the territory. But, to me, Sam Ehlinger he's the best quarterback on this roster. And that's not a good thing. I'm saying that like that's a bad thing. So, but with Sam, I'll say this, that they did everything they could this season, specifically the decision makers, whether that be Chris Ballard or Jim Irsay. They did everything they could to make sure that kid failed. And even today, he had a couple really rough moments there in the first half. He threw the 2 interceptions, but he bounced back in the second half, and he made some plays, and he had them in a position to win that game. As we know, the Colts have, I believe, in the last 7 games, they've scored 8 total touchdowns, and he's accounted for one last week and then two today. So, um, he's almost accounted for almost half of the touchdowns they've scored in the last 7 games, and that's within very limited action. So, yeah, anytime you have a young player and he gets gets thrown in without any reps and has to go against Bill Belichick, then he gets benched, then he gets thrown back in once again with 0 reps. This time with a head coach that's never coached and an offensive coordinator that's never coordinated. Um, yeah, it's just a mess. There's been no continuity at the quarterback position. They just keep yanking these guys in and out constantly and just rotating. And you're never, especially with a young guy like Sam, who to me, like, his big thing is like he needs the reps. Like, is he ever going to amount to a starting quarterback? No, I don't think that's who he is. I think he's proven that with his play on the field. But at the same time, I think he can come in and be a decent guy in that quarterback room and, you know, end up becoming a good backup quarterback around the league. He's shown the ability to come in an otherwise awful situation that I'm not sure any quarterback would succeed in. And as we've seen, none of the quarterbacks have succeeded. So it's a tough season for him. It's tough to put it all on him. He's made some bad plays himself, and he's got a lot of work to do. But we knew that. I mean, he was a project. This isn't anything that you can know necessarily who he is as a player. I mean, he's played what 3 starts and 1 quarter of football, and this is the worst quarter. This is the worst situation quarterback wise from a coaching, offensive coordinator, offensive line, all of that in the entire National Football League. So you're not going to be able to properly evaluate the kid unless you put him in for a prolonged period of time. If they would have kept him after the New England game, kept with him and allowed him to grow, or not even really grow, because I don't know how much growth you can achieve under this regime right now, but at least gain the experience and gain the reps. I think you would have a better idea of what you have, but unfortunately you don't. So it's hard to really put into, I guess, words what he could be. Like I said, I think he's a backup. I don't think there's any chance he should be starting or see the field at all next year. If Sam Allinger's playing, something went extremely wrong. But he's a guy that you keep on the bench, you keep in the quarter. He's a great guy for the quarterback room for a rookie to be paired up with. He's extremely smart, fantastic leader. He's a guy that he works his ass off, so you'll be able to kind of see, firsthand what it takes to have a work ethic and stuff like that. That's somebody I'm never gonna not want those type of people in a quarterback room or in a locker room. But yeah, I think it was just a tough day for him, and I think we kind of all expected that it would be. And I will say though, I am proud of the way he threw those 2 interceptions, one of them being a pick six, and we saw the opposite on the other side of the sideline where Davis Mills made the turnovers and he just kind of folded as the game went on. Sam Allinger didn't fold. He picked it up and he played good ball the rest of the game. So proud of him for that, and hopefully, whether it's a new regime, new coaching staff, anything, I do hope Sam sticks around. I do, because I think there's something there as far as somebody a rookie can learn from, somebody that is still able to grow into a role as a backup in this league. And yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on it. I don't want to take too much time here. So
Yeah, you're good. I agree. I do think Sam Ellinger is a QB2 on any roster. I do think he has what it takes, but I do think if you put him in a decent system with a nice offensive line and a head coach who's willing to actually give him time to work, I do think he can see some W's in his future. Not a franchise quarterback, but I do think he's a good plug-in piece for like a worst case scenario. If somebody goes down and he has to come in, and I feel like he can take over that role. We've seen it with a few quarterbacks in this league today. I mean, we're seeing it now with Brock Purdy. Colt McCoy had a run back in the day at one stint when he was a backup quarterback and the starting quarterback went down. So I do think Colt McCoy, with his way to be mobile and to make a few reads, I do think if he's in the right system with a good team, that he can make something happen. But I don't think he's a franchise quarterback. Of course, we do still need time to evaluate that, but that is a personal opinion. So, I mean, you might have a different view. But we're going to move on to Michael. Let me get your thoughts on Sam Ellinger's game today, and how do you feel about him moving forward for the Colts?
Yeah, I think I'm going to echo a lot of what most people feel is that he should have never been benched again. Personally, I just didn't really understand the decision to bench Matt Ryan and start him and then hire Jeff Saturday and say, hey, you make the call. Like, you've already made the call. Why not just stick to it? Like, why not just go through the front door instead of running out the back? That should have been the decision from day one. Seeing how he played today, again, I mean, if he could have just played the rest of the season, I would have loved to see it because, again, this was an evaluation year. It was a down year. So around week 8, week 9, you should have already understood what the year was going to be. Stuck with Sam Ellinger. I mean, look at what Mr. Irrelevant is doing in San Francisco. He just locked up the number 2 seed, took Trey Lance's job, hasn't lost a game. But that's because it's a great coaching staff that knows how to call the offense to the quarterback's strengths. And seeing Sam Ellinger, even though it's not his fault, the 2 top offensive minds were let go this season. But the way that he played today, it had me nervous a little bit because obviously I wanted the Colts to lose for obvious reasons. They went up to number 4. But Sam Ellinger wasn't playing to lose today. He was fighting for his job. He wanted to put stuff on tape. And I thought he responded well, still came back and threw 2 touchdowns. I mean, this man is a miracle worker. Mo Alley-Cox caught a touchdown pass. This man is a miracle worker, okay? Mo Alley-Cox actually held on. He held on to the ball, and I thought that alone should just lock should guarantee the rest of his rookie contract just based on that. But as far as would he be QB2, personally, I'll double down on what I said last week. Let's double down in the draft at quarterback. Bring young talent in, have a healthy competition, and let's just stop signing one guy or just because that's what got us in trouble this year. Saying this guy would, we're content with this guy. You'll have the job, whether if it's the first string or the backup, and we'll be fine. That's what kind of screwed you in multiple places this year. So I would like to double down again at quarterback. But Sam, again, outside of all the leadership, all the good stuff, all that stuff, talent-wise, I still think there's something there. Gets with a good offensive mind, a good teacher at quarterback, and I think he'll be solid.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Imagine if he had a guy like a good QB coach, like a San Fran or like a Bruce Arians or someone in that type of vicinity. I do think, they can reach to his strengths and actually unlock a piece in Sam Elliott that he didn't know he had. But it's the Colts at the end of the day. They're a dumpster fire at the moment. But the future is ahead after a great successful season. We are finally going to get a quarterback, and now we're going to see the dawn of a new light. But moving forward, before we go ahead and talk about the draft lottery and all that good stuff, I gotta give a shout out to Zach Moss. Zach Moss was a guy traded from Buffalo in the Naheem Hines deal. Zach Moss, a running back that a lot of Colts fans didn't even know about really, that stepped on the scene and looked like he looked like he's for sure to stay. In my opinion, I think he's proven that he can stay on this roster. I would love to run it back with him as a running back. He's an aggressive runner, and he's a guy that's shown so many flashes today. Even though a lot of Colts fans wanted to lose, he was a guy that I was like, you know what? Just for Zach Moss, go out there with because he was playing so hard because he was playing for his spot as well. Mike mentioned how Sam Elliott was playing for his job. Zach Moss definitely showed like I still want to be on this roster come next season, and I think for sure he's a guy that I definitely would want to come back next year. Landon, let me get your thoughts on Zach Moss' game, man.
Man, dude single-handedly tried to ruin the tank today. He got close, bro. He played a great game, and he's a guy that's really come in and kind of proven his worth and what he can bring to the table. And I think that's why the Colts moved on. He's much, much different than Naheem Hines was when the trade. And let's not forget, they gained another pick as well out of that trade. So not only does it look like they upgraded as far as running back goes, I know Naheem had the 2 touchdowns today, which was unbelievable to see. It was so awesome. I don't know if you guys saw that or not, and not to get off subject, but uh, yeah, Hines, he, yeah, yeah. I mean, it. Well, I think the moment too. So the opening kickoff, they take back, and obviously Damar Hamlin, the situation. Our thoughts and prayers are with him still, and so excited for the growth that kid has shown as well. So excited he's back, but um, obviously, his number is 3. So what was really cool about the Naheem Hines touchdown is that was the first touchdown, kickoff touchdown that the Buffalo Bills have had in 3 years and 3 months. Pretty crazy stuff. So I
a
thought
crazy
that,
stat.
yeah, that's crazy. It's 3 years and 3 months since the Buffalo Bills have had a kickoff touchdown, and Naheem Hines had 2 of them. But moving on to the Colts, they did trade Naheem, and although he's obviously not the returner or the receiver Hines is, he is a better runner, especially through the tackles. And I think he showed that today, and he showed that he belongs. And he's a guy that I think will work his tail off. And he kind of knew too. We know the shelf life for running backs, and once it's hard to catch on once you don't work out in the place that drafted you. You're usually a career backup. You kind of bounce around and stuff like that. But I think he's earned a place on this roster for next year. So yeah, really, really great game by him today.
Definitely. Mike, let me get your thoughts on Moss today and how do you feel about him moving forward?
Had a great day, man. Had a great day. It was the best day someone wearing number 21 has had for the Colts all year. And I was happy for him. Big day for him, big day for Sam Ehlinger, guys who are at the bottom of the depth chart. But, in terms of moving forward, just bring in running backs, have a competition over it. Running backs are a dime a dozen. Marlon Mack was a 4th-round pick, became a 1,000-yard rusher. Unfortunately, had an injury. I'm not really too gung-ho about the running back position. Just bring in guys that can compete, that can play. I'm happy for him. If he's running back number 2 and he earns it, more the merrier. But other than that, yeah, he's solid.
Last thing I want to mention before we go ahead and hop into number 4 of the draft and the upcoming opponents for next year, I want to give another shout out to Rodney McLeod and Michael favorite Rodney Thomas II. Those 2 guys, including DeForest Buckner, made for sure they wanted to let the Colts fans know that they are here to win. And they also wanted to let them know that they are not the ones that are implying this whole tank mode and that they have nothing to do with it. Also, shout out to them. Mike, you can go ahead and give your guys the Rodney duo the praise and DeForest if you want. Go ahead and give you a light on them.
There is no Rodneys. It's the Rodney Thomas II from Yale University. That's what it is. The only Rodney on this team that is here, that has arrived. Loved him since we drafted him. I was one of the very few that said he would make the 53, even though some said that he would be a practice squad guy or a camp body. His tape translated very well to the NFL. Had a great play earlier today. Almost had 2 great plays. Almost had the game clinching interception. Thank God he didn't get it. But the fact that he's in those type of areas at those types of moments in the game is a real good indicator on things to come. I really liked Julian Blackmon his rookie year. Rodney Thomas, I feel like his rookie year just, I don't get too big on rookies. I don't make too big, bold claims about rookies. Man, Rodney Thomas is going to start next year. He is going to start next year. He should start next year, or depending on what happens with Rodney McLeod. Rodney Thomas and Julian Blackmon. That is one hell of a safety duo.
Hey, let's not forget too. I know it's easy to forget about Nick Cross, but I'll say this: they basically treated this year as a redshirt year for him. He's only 20 years old, and that's a guy they're very, very high on in the building. I think they just wanted to get him more comfortable with the NFL life, the speed of the game, all that. So they basically treated this as a red shirt year, and he's only going to be 21. So that's another guy to really look out for next year in that safety room.
Yeah.
His rookie year hasn't been great. I know he was a healthy scratch today, but all of that was kind of part of the plan with drafting him. And I know he kind of showed out some in camp, and he was a little bit further along than what they thought. But once the games started, it was really, really a chance to see, like, the game just moved too fast for him right now. So he's a guy that's got all the talent in the world, physical freak. I think he has a bright future as well. So I don't want to just kind of write him off either.
Definitely. So he's not better than Rodney Thomas II, but what everything you said was definitely good, because honestly, when you said Nick Cross, I was like, who the hell is that? And then the talented guy out of Maryland we drafted last year, who Chris Ballard was high on, and it was well documented. If we were in the draft next year, would we spend a second round pick on him? Everybody said yes.
With the safety class this year too, I think there really would. I was thinking about this the other day because I was kind of going through some safeties and stuff, and there's a good chance that he would be a second round pick or either a high third round pick in this draft. So
yeah, and just to know, like what I said last year, like Rodney Thomas and Nick Cross are going to play two different types of safeties. I just want to point that out. So when I said Rodney Thomas is better than him, like literally, like what position safety are they playing is going to be the actual question. But yeah, other than that, the safety position really looks up when it comes to Julian Blackmon, Rodney Thomas, and Nick Cross, especially when you added that in there. And Buckner and those guys. Solid game. Solid game. That's what they get paid to do. So yeah.
Absolutely,
Great.
absolutely. Got to give
none of them are better than Rodney Thomas II from Yale University.
Of course. But now we get into the real important of today. We're going to go ahead and hop into the draft order today. This is the draft order from PFF. The Indianapolis Colts is sitting at lovely number 4. At number 1 is the Chicago Bears. At number 2 is the Houston Texans. 3 is the Arizona Cardinals. 5 is the Seattle Seahawks from the Denver trade. All hail to Seahawks general manager and front office for that deal. They stole it, and they are very smart. Moving forward, number 6 is Detroit Lions from the Rams. Number 7 is the Raiders. 8 is the Falcons. 9 is the Panthers. And 10 is the Philadelphia Eagles. And let me get your thoughts, Landon, on this draft order, and then the Colts at number 4.
One, it's beautiful. It's beautiful to see. I love it. This is, as much as this season sucked and as much as the expectations were, this is what made the season so bad. It's because the expectations that were made going into the season. And now looking at this, like, this is really what this team needed, and this is the direction they should have went the moment Andrew Luck walked out that door. They should have been looking to get high in the draft for their next quarterback. And I know we've talked about it before, but I mean, they were looking at that, and then there were some other things that happened that made that a little bit more difficult, obviously, with the Carson Wentz move. But yeah, this is what this team needed, and this is mediocrity is the worst place you can be as a franchise. We've seen it now for 4 years in a row with the Colts, where they on the off chance they even sneak into the playoffs as a wild card spot, their first round exit, or since Andrew Luck, that's all they've snuck into the playoffs one time. Their first round exit, it didn't matter, and the rest of the time they've missed the playoffs barely. So, and that's got you nowhere. So you either want to be either really good or you want to be really bad. That's where you need to be in the NFL. The Colts were really bad this year, and I would say over the course of like the last 8 weeks, they've probably been the worst team in football. So. Yeah, this is where we need the thing that worries me about this draft order, though. So the Colts are at 4. We know the Texans are going to take a quarterback. More than likely, we're assuming. The Raiders, the Falcons, and the Panthers are all three teams. I don't think the Falcons necessarily, but the Raiders and the Panthers are teams to watch for a trade up because they know if they want one of the top two guys or if they want their choice of a guy and not kind of be left at the altar with kind of the last man standing, they're going to have to get ahead of Indianapolis. And I think the Colts know that as well. So this could be very interesting because not only do the Colts have a chance to trade up with the Bears because one, there's great relationship there. Chris Ballard has great relationships with the Bears, and all indications are he's returning as your GM. But obviously, we know like Eberflus is there as well. Poles, like there's some connections in that building with Indianapolis. There are players that Chicago covets that could be there at 4 overall, that should be there at 4 overall, namely the two defensive guys, Jalen Carter, Will Anderson. If they go down any further than that, if they, they're likely not getting those two guys that they covet. So we'll see if that plays a role. But not only, do you get a chance for that, but you also get a chance to, at 1, have your choice of your guy, no matter what. Nobody can jump you if you're at 1. You have your choice of who you want. And you prevent the Texans possibly from getting the guy that they want. And that's a division rival. That's a guy you're going to have to see twice a year. So that's another big thing with this. So I think there's a very good shot that you start seeing some trade rumors pop up with the Bears and the Colts, because not only do you have a relationship there, but you also have a chance to kind of stick it to the Texans and kind of jump them for their guy. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, the Raiders and the Panthers are kind of those are the two teams that would worry me about getting ahead of the Colts. But I think with being number 4, you're at least locked into one of the big 3. I think you're going to have your shot at one of the big 3 guys. So because obviously we know Arizona's not taking a quarterback. So even if one of those teams does jump you, say Carolina jumps you for number 1, or say Las Vegas goes up to number 1, they take Will Levis because there's been a lot of rumors about Levis with the Panthers and Levis with the Raiders. So say they go up to number 1, they take Will Levis. Houston takes Bryce Young. C.J. Stroud's probably going to be sitting there at 4 for the Colts. So might get off of here, get off the chat. We don't need none of that. So yeah, this is what the Colts needed. They're going to get their quarterback in this class, and I've heard from multiple people, and I think Kiefer's actually reported on it as well. Or I don't know if he's reported on it, but I know like there's been the talk. They're going to be aggressive this offseason. They like Jim Irsay's tired of the game that they've been playing. They will be aggressive. They will get their guy. It's just a matter of whether they get him at 1 or whether they get him at 3 or 4. So we'll see.
Yeah, we would definitely see. I definitely agree with you on the expectations the Colts had this year, and they just fell out flat on their face. This is one of the worst years as a franchise to have expectations and just not do anything with it. The last thing I can remember, to my knowledge, is like the Legion, well, not the Legion of Boom, but the Dream Team with the Eagles, with Vic and all those guys, when they had that loaded roster and they was just flat out garbage. But now we're going to move on to Mike. Let me get your thoughts about this glorious draft order and what the Colts should do with it. How do you feel at this spot?
I feel good. I still feel good. I'm going to echo a lot of what Landon said. I think after a very underwhelming quarterback class last year, I think you're going to see quite a few moves in the top 10, honestly, because there's still some wild cards, like even another wild card that Landon didn't mention. What if New Orleans lands a trade for Sean Payton and they have a first-round pick to work with? Where could that be? And they would now have ammo to trade up and say, you know what, enough Andy Dalton, enough Jameis Winston. Let's go get a quarterback.
Well, they're not getting that first-round pick from Denver. So
yeah, no. But another thing, I kept asking the question, and Landon, I talked to you about that Seattle. Do they go and get a quarterback? Is this year to go to get a quarterback? I know Will Anderson is sitting there and, all that, but that's just not what it's going to be. So for the Colts to be there at number 4, it's definitely looking pretty. I would be intrigued to see what the asking price is to go up to Chicago. Now, here's the thing. Chicago going to have like 20 phone calls from everybody. You know, all GMs are going to do their due diligence. You know, they're probably going to get 25 phone calls, and maybe about 5 of them are going to be very serious. So what would that be like? Because there's going to be a bidding war to get number 1. But another interesting thing that I think will get thrown out there, from what I've been told, is, you know, Chicago flirting with the idea that they're going to take a quarterback, and that would lead to Justin Fields being a trade candidate. Now, Justin Fields was the guy that Chris Ballard wanted. Nah. Like, it's been reported everywhere. The Colts should take their guy in the draft. No more trading for a guy. No, even if it's Justin Fields, no more. You know, get a guy who is raw, who is fresh, who just take your guy.
I'll end that speculation right there. The Bears are not trading Justin Fields. They're not moving up. They're not taking a quarterback. Yeah, it's not happening. There's no speculation. Like
I expect
if you heard it from
to get thrown out.
I mean, it might be like Twitter people talking, but no, they're not. They're not getting rid of Justin.
It's just going to be people looking for smoke, really. Just throwing smoke out there. The next 3-4 months are going to be smoke season. So
as far as Seattle goes, everything that I've heard is that they do want Geno back, and they want to evaluate that next year. And if they do need a quarterback, they'll go and get one in the 2024 class, because it is a much more loaded class for sure. So I think that's where Seattle's kind of landing right now. I think they want one of those defensive linemen, and that's kind of what I was saying earlier. Is I think that's where the Colts are a sweet spot. Yeah, exactly. Jason knows. Yeah, they're not trading Fields, so that's a sweet spot, because if they trade lower than 5, Will Anderson's gone, Jalen Carter's gone. That's not happening. Seattle will take one of those. Arizona will take one of those, and they'll kind of be left at the altar. And those are the 2 guys they want. So yeah, it's I think having 4 is a sweet spot. That's where Indy really needed to get to today. 3 would have been great, but 4 is where they needed to get to. And I don't know really how much further Chicago would want to drop and still be able to get one of their 2 guys that they have on their board. So it's going to be interesting, man. I'm super excited.
One team that I'm looking at that really intrigues me is Detroit. What's Detroit going to do? Because they have their first round picks, and they have 2 more LA first round picks. So you got 5 first round picks to work with, really, over the next 3 years. And I think that's the most you can go out in the NFL is 3 years for first round picks. So that's another team that concerns me. Could they trade up with Arizona? You know, is Arizona willing to drop down and gain, you know, recoup those picks? And Detroit can go up there and jump ahead of Indy and get a quarterback, because their roster seems legit. Are they going to bring in a young guy, you know, learn behind Jared Goff? And that's another team that's intriguing as well. That kind of scares me a little bit. They're lurking right there at number 6. Obviously, that's the pick from LA, and they have 2 first-round picks this year, and that could be beautiful to a team like Arizona, who needs cornerback help, pass rushing help. They need offensive line help, and you know that's a team that intrigues me as well.
Like when it comes to Detroit, which I haven't heard really anything. This is just pure speculation on my part, so this isn't source, this isn't anything. But a guy that I think is really intriguing for them is Anthony Richardson. Like, that would be the perfect situation for that guy to land in, to where he can grow under, you know, a year with. If Ben Johnson is still there, if he doesn't take a head coaching role, I think having a guy like Ben Johnson as his offensive coordinator, his ability to learn for a year, set behind Jared Goff, because as we know, Jared Goff's playing really damn good football. You know, there's no reason right now that I see them moving on from him just to do it. Like, it would have to be the right quarterback, the right situation, and they would have to feel really, really, really strongly about a guy to move up to get him, because I think one of the big 4 will be there for them at 6. It'll pretty much be whichever one's left over. So I think Anthony Richardson would be phenomenal in Detroit. They have loads of weapons. They have a great offensive line. They have a great young, innovative offensive coordinator. Dan Campbell's a really good coach. So yeah, it's interesting to see that. And like I said, that's pure speculation from me. That's honestly like I've had that tweet loaded up in my drafts for like 2 months now, where I was like, I would love to see Anthony Richardson in Detroit. Although it would be scary, but at least he wouldn't be in the AFC. So yeah, I don't really see them moving up for a quarterback. I think if they move up, it would be for the defensive guys. I can see them going with somebody possibly like a Keely Ringo, maybe another defensive lineman. Just more deep. Your mic's muted.
My bad. I was gonna say Keely Ringo that high at number 6.
There's a lot of talk about him going like top 8.
I don't know if he's a top.
No, I know he had like a rough game, but he had a rough game against like Marvin Harrison Jr. And that's like a Julio Jones level prospect. So all that showed me was like, yeah, year one, he might not be a shutdown corner against Justin Jefferson or any of those guys, but he has the talent. And there's been a lot of top 10 talk when it comes to Keely Ringo. So obviously it's super early, super
Yeah,
early.
super early. I'm not entirely sure how he's going to test. How he's going to test at the combine. I don't know how he's going to perform at the Senior Bowl. I'm interested. That's a guy who I feel like his draft stock was really high and probably is from what you're saying. Still is. But I feel like if we get into this draft cycle now where we get to pro days, combine, we might see a drop, maybe not. But yeah, he's one of the prospects I'm not too high on, even though if we were picking somewhere like around 14 where we were, I would love a Keely Ringo at that spot.
Yeah. Like I said, I think they're kind of hoping more for like one of the defensive. I think like I know Aquara's done good. Aiden Hutchinson's been fantastic, and I actually have him on right now, watching the Packers Lions game. But I think a guy. Well, I don't know. I don't want to get into too much draft talk right now, but yeah, I think the Colts are. I think the Colts are in a really sweet spot from where they landed today. I think the best possible scenario, obviously outside of getting to pick 3, was to at least get to 4, because that allows that trade with the Bears, and the Bears still get their guy or one of their guys. They get more draft capital to continue their build. They have the most cap space in the league as well. So I believe they have $115 million of cap space coming up, which is just insane. So yeah,
I get taken up by DeForest Buckner, but
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, which I don't think the Colts move Buckner unless like they absolutely have to. Like, I wouldn't because he's just that damn good. But I mean, if that's what it takes, I don't necessarily know if to get your guy, to get your quarterback. Having a franchise quarterback trumps all. So as good as some of these guys might be, and as much as we might love them, if we get a franchise quarterback out of that, nobody's batting an eye, or at least nobody in the NFL is batting an eye. Maybe fans on Twitter, but yeah, it would be interesting to have. Can you imagine like DeForest Buckner, Will Anderson Jr., Al-Qadim Muhammad? Just joking.
That'd be insane.
But yeah, I mean, like, and then like I said, they've still got 115, or they still got a ton of money to go get free agents. They can take on the Buckner contract, no problem. But like I said, I'm not trading Buckner unless it's like that's the only way I get my quarterback. And I think there's other avenues out there for that.
For the number 1 overall pick, you're not trading DeForest Buckner.
That's what I'm saying. Like if that's what it took, yes. But I'm not quite sure like that they couldn't get it done without trading him, because that's a tough pill to swallow. Like trading a guy like that.
I don't know if you're sitting like Chicago is, you can.
That's what I'm saying. But like, yeah, Chicago should ask for whatever they can get. Yeah, no doubt. But that's what I'm saying. Like, if that's what it takes to get, like, if they believe 100%, if they strongly believe, which in order to make that pick, you've got to believe that that's your guy. But if they 100% believe like this guy's a franchise quarterback, he can be our guy for the next 10 to 15 years, then yeah, you make that trade. No, like you don't even question it.
Yeah, 100%. But I do want to piggyback on one thing you said about the Lions, and you know, they can go out there and get a good draft pick, and they can also have one of those off seasons like the Jaguars had this year. The Jaguars had a fantastic off season, and they did a lot of moves that everyone questions like, why are they spending so much money? And then when they come out in the season, you see they go out there and win the division. I think the Lions can have that because they're starting to build a foundation and actual culture with the coach that they have and with the team that they've grown, with the running back core that they got and the QB, no matter who it is, the wide receiving group. They're starting to develop actual talent. And with Aiden Hutchinson out there having a heck of a rookie year, they can actually draw some interest in their offseason to get somebody, well, one big name or maybe a few to actually go to Detroit and willing to take that risk, especially if they got the money to do so. So I think the Lions are definitely going to be a team to look at this offseason. Of course, we're going to be still looking at the Jaguars because they always make me jealous of the moves that they make. But now we're going to go into a dream scenario before we go into the opponents for next year. I have that picture as well. But a dream scenario, you guys can just throw something out there, rabbit out the hat. It don't have to be realistic. We're gonna start with Mike. Mike, if you can do anything to move up in the draft to go get maybe a Bryce Young or anything, what would you do for the Colts?
To move up, I would obviously Chicago would be my trade partner. I'd offer uh, a first round pick, DeForest Buckner and Kenny Moore. If I don't have to commit 2 first round picks or a day 2 pick, that would be perfect. I think that's why I'm adding Kenny Moore into that package as well. Flus loves Kenny Moore. But again, would Chicago take that when they have 5 other teams calling them offering 3 first-round picks? That would be my dream scenario, though. A first-round pick, DeForest Buckner, and Kenny Moore.
All right, Landon, we're gonna go with you. If you had to move any talent to move up in the drafts, what would you do for the Colts?
Dream scenario.
Yeah, just dream scenario, just rabbit out the hat.
Kenny Moore for 1 overall, straight up, just straight like dream scenario right there. Now like a realistic scenario. As far as like having a dream scenario that's realistic, it would be keeping DeForest Buckner, moving off of the Shaquille Leonard contract and trading Shaquille Leonard to Matt Eberflus as well with Kenny Moore, and being able to re-sign Okereke and EJ Speed, pair them with Zaire Franklin, and keep DeForest Buckner. And so I would trade 4th overall, Kenny Moore, Shaquille Leonard, and a 2nd-round pick next year.
I like that. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Nah,
Definitely,
that would be a
something.
dream for me. But
Would you say Mike? Your mic was muted.
Oh, I was cutting the camera off. Bring that comment back up.
He said, "I'll throw Pittman instead of Buckner." To be honest, I think it'll be more of an enticing for Chicago.
Damn, you don't want CJ Stroud to throw to anybody, do you?
You know, it's kind of crazy because
that would be my only problem is like you got a rookie quarterback and then you're taking away probably one of his.
It's not even that. I think the Bears would be
CJ Stroud, come in here. You got Ashton Doolin. Like, really?
I think the Bears would be scared to do it regardless, despite what they just did with Chase Claypool, which was the biggest robbery of the century. They traded Claypool for nothing, and he just hasn't shown up since he's gotten there. So I think they'd be a little nervous of trading for another wide receiver if it's not like a Brandon Cooks or something, because Brandon Cooks don't want to be in Houston.
I mean, Chicago wasn't going anywhere this year anyway, so I don't read too much into Chase Claypool not doing anything. He got there mid-season when the season was already gone.
Yeah, but it basically ended up being because remember Miami had their 1st-round pick taken away.
Yeah.
So with the Bears now having the number 1 overall pick, that pick is now pick 32, which would be the last pick in the 1st round. So, yeah, they essentially traded a 1st-rounder for Chase Claypool.
Hey, that pick is still forfeited. Can Jim Irsay buy that 1st-round pick?
I'm sure he would love to if he could.
Man.
Let's go ahead. We're going to go into the opponents for next year, which is very interesting, I would say. Up there, you see the Cincinnati Bengals and Joe Burrow. I do love. All praise to Joe Burrow. If nobody watched what he did earlier in the first quarter against the Ravens when he escaped the pocket and scrambled for like 5 yards, even though he didn't get the first, but the effort was incredible. I say go watch it. But shout out to the Joe Burrow and them. We get to see the Ravens again, our best friends and who we love. The last time Lamar was in Lucas Oil Stadium, he went crazy. But we'll be on the road in that game, which is going to be super tough. We play the Rams next year, Tampa Bay. We play the Saints, the Steelers. Man, it's a nice little schedule we got here moving forward. Landon, let me get your thoughts on this on the opponents of who we face next year. Who do you feel the most about?
One, I think it's extremely favorable. It looks like you've got numerous rebuilding teams. Here, Houston is still going through their rebuild. They'll have a rookie quarterback. The Browns, who knows what they look? Deshaun Watson has looked terrible, so who knows what they look like? Obviously, the Steelers are a tough matchup, but the Saints could still be going through a rebuild. They might not have a quarterback. The Buccaneers, there's a good chance Tom Brady's not there. They'll be going through a rebuild. The Raiders just got rid of Derek Carr, he won't be there, so they're going through a rebuild. The Rams, there's talk about McVay retiring. They could be going through a full rebuild as well. And then you still got Carolina, Atlanta, both teams with young quarterbacks, not really great rosters. So, we'll see if Carolina is able to get their quarterback. And, New England, this is a very favorable schedule. If the Colts are able to capitalize on this offseason with the correct coaching hire, let's get that out of the way. That's going to be the biggest thing now is who they get at head coach. If they can knock the head coach out of the park, get their rookie, and continue to build around him, in free agency and in the draft, then I don't see any reason why. I mean, like I said, there's numerous rebuilding teams just off the jump. So I'm counting Tennessee's another one. They could be moving off Ryan Tannehill. They could be moving towards a full rebuild. They fired their GM, so we don't even know what's going to happen with the roster turnover there. So right now, you're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, possibly 8 teams that are going through either a minor or major rebuild out of all your games. And 2 of those are division opponents. So you're going to see them at least 4. So that right there, I believe that's 10 out of your 17 games that could be against rebuilding rosters, whether that's a minor or a major rebuild. So if they're able to capitalize on this offseason, there's a good shot that they can make some noise next year. And we see it every year. Teams go from bottom of the barrel to winning the division. Obviously, it's really too early to say that's a thing because we don't know who the head coach is. I mean, if it's Jeff Saturday again, the Colts are going to be right back in that number 1 overall picture. So yeah, it's too early. But as far as what we're looking at schedule wise, it's a very favorable schedule that if they have the correct off season, they can make some noise next year. I'm just going to say that.
Yeah, this definitely looks like a schedule that favors Jeff Saturday return for a big year, comeback coach of the year. Mike, let me get your thoughts on the opponents and how do you feel about it?
That was just a bunch of gobbledygook from Landon. Outside of going 0-6 against the division, L against New England, L against Cincinnati. If Frank Reich gets hired in Carolina, L for Carolina. So you're already, 0-9 right there. Let's keep it going. You haven't proven to beat Pittsburgh or Mike Tomlin, 0-10. New Orleans, okay, I'll give it to us. 1-10. We're at 1 win, y'all. LA, what goes on there? Okay, I'll give it to us. 2-10. Tampa Bay, I'll give it to us. 3-10. And who is that? The Raiders right there. Okay, 4-10. Falcons, Desmond Ritter and company, 4-11. Ravens, 4-12. I feel like I'm missing. The Browns. Okay, 4-13. All right, yeah, that's what I see. Until this team shows me that they can do something, then that's really what it is, man. I don't really give a damn about this schedule. The offensive line needs to be revamped, quite a few different areas. Defense, I'm perfectly fine with, but figure it out on the center position, figure it out on the right guard, figure it out at quarterback, running back depth, wide receiver depth, tight end 1. Until you figure that out, man, I don't see more than 5 wins on the schedule. Honestly, I really don't.
Man, Mike's talking like Sam Ellis is going to be QB1 next year, huh, Landon?
That's the beauty of the offseason. Like I said, we don't know
We,
yet. But
we just went 1-4-1.
that's what I'm saying. You're like, I mean, that's why I'm not predicting records right now because I don't know what any of these teams are going to look like.
I think with Tennessee, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what they'll do with Ryan Tannehill. I don't think they truly believe in Malik Willis. I think
they're getting Derek Carr.
That I mean, maybe, quite possibly. And again, you're still screwed in the division.
Not with
Derek Jacksonville. Hey, it was a good season for Jacksonville. You know, they won the division and they get to host a playoff game, regardless if it was in the year where the AFC South was by far the worst division in football. They still got it done, and they still won
the NFC South is a team with a losing record hosting a playoff game.
I don't know.
The Jags have a winning record.
I think the AFC South is worse. If you line them both up, I think the NFC North could sweep the AFC South.
Well, the NFC North could.
No, the NFC South, my bad. Definitely completely two different teams. We had our chance at an NFC North champion, but we allowed the largest comeback in NFL history. But I just don't. I mean, Cleveland, I think they'll figure it out with Deshaun Watson. Kenny Pickett is going to have a year under his belt. They'll have guys established. George Pickens looks like he could be primed for a big second year. Baltimore, I don't know what the hell is going on with them and Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson could be no, he won't be in Tennessee. If they trade him, he's not going in the division. I don't know what the hell's going on in Baltimore. They need to figure it out.
That in this live stream.
We don't know what's not wish that Lamar Jackson doesn't go to Tennessee.
We won't even put that in the same sentence. You don't say it again because it's like 3 wishes. Don't
okay. The 3 things you don't do in life, huh?
Yeah, I almost had a heart attack over here.
Unless the team really does something on the offense. I mean, we could face some rebuilding teams, but I mean, technically we're rebuilding. So Atlanta, taking my Colts cap off, Atlanta intrigues me, honestly. Desmond Ridder kind of took some steps this year after earning the job over Marcus Mariota. I'm interested to see what year 2 looks like for him. He's definitely got to get with the trainer, get with some of the guys, reestablish some chemistry. And another thing that we haven't talked about with Jacksonville is guess who gets added to the roster next year? You know who? Marcus, tell me.
Huh? To Jacksonville's roster?
Guess who gets added to Jacksonville's roster next year?
I don't know.
Well, it's Calvin Ridley.
Oh yeah, definitely Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, Calvin Ridley.
I was thinking about all the free agency because I just know they're gonna make a splash again. So
yeah, Jacksonville looks like he could be a real player for the next decade. Honestly, as long as Calvin Ridley puts down sports betting apps, then they're definitely going to be primed. But in terms of schedule, the rivalry is back with New England, Cincinnati, gonna be on the road there. Tennessee, not Tennessee, Pittsburgh comes back home. So, here's my quick question. Outside of Thursday night, do you see any primetime games on this slate?
I hope not. I'm not going to be honest. I'd rather just be off the grid this year.
Be off the damn grid.
I see it. Well, if you're talking about primetime games, I see a few Thursday night stinkers on here.
like the Bengals.
Thursday night's a primetime game, but yeah, I mean,
Bengals and Colts can be one.
Yeah, I was gonna say Jags, Colts. I can see going into prime or going.
Is
into
Amazon Prime time though? Because not everybody buys prime time, so not everybody can actually watch it.
Yeah, but it's still considered a primetime slate. 7 p.m.
Me personally, I don't consider it prime time. Like everybody gets a Thursday night game.
Plus, too, I mean, it really depends on who the Colts draft as well. Because you got to remember, man, top overall rookie quarterbacks, they like to showcase those guys on primetime slates. So there could be like one Monday night. I think they get 2 primetime games this season. I'll say that. I think there's 2. One's a Thursday night, and then I think they'll get put on a Monday night football game somewhere.
Hopefully then Peyton Manning decides that he wants to watch the Colts.
He will not.
Yeah, he still won't. But other than that, yeah, solid schedule. Um, Interested to see what the Texans do. I'm just really to see what the entire AFC South does, man, because this kind of like the NFC East, where they were a bad division. 2 years later, literally almost everybody made the playoffs. So I think the
There's a
AFC
good
South
chance
is
that Tennessee's the only team in the division that doesn't have a young rookie quarterback, or not rookie, but like a young quarterback, that they're going to try to build around.
yeah.
And and it could be Malik Willis. I don't know if they're completely done with him. Who knows? But with a new GM coming in there, we'll see what happens. But yeah, this could look like Trevor Lawrence, C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young, all in the same division. This could turn around very quickly if those guys hit.
Definitely could turn around. Definitely gonna be looking at interesting in Tennessee. I did keep an eye on the AFC South offseason last year, so I'm definitely gonna be doing that again this year. I happen to be right about the Jaguars. I just want to put that out there. They did have a good year, so shout out to them again. Even though some people don't want to do that, but you got to get the credit where it's due.
And they're
Um,
adding Calvin Ridley too.
and they're adding Calvin Ridley. This
That's
is
still
it's going to
crazy.
be an insane offseason, and a lot of things I just thought about as well with these opponents. It definitely questions how healthy is Jonathan Taylor going to be next year, because we're definitely going to need a solid running game to pair with that young QB we got coming out the draft. So I just want to ask Landon, does Jonathan Taylor health and fumbling issue concern you pairing with a rookie quarterback going into the schedule next year?
No, not at all. It wasn't like he didn't have some major injury or major tear or anything like that. It's just an injury it's just going to take a few weeks, possibly a couple months to heal up to get 100%, and he'll be fine. I'm not worried about Jonathan Taylor at all. That's like one of like the top 5 guys I'm not worried about on this roster. So yeah, he'll be a big part of next year. Hopefully, if he can stay healthy, and hopefully they go out and improve the offensive line as well, open up some running lanes, get back to what we expected, from this offensive line coming in. So yeah, I'm not worried about JT. He'll be fine.
Mike, you worried about JT at all?
Not really. I mean, this was really the first year out of his entire high school, college, NFL where fumbles were a problem. I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm gonna take it as a 1-year wonder. Why were they happening? Maybe I think there was 2 of them after he had an injury. Did a sharp pain, a wave of pain hit him in a pile, and he just fumbled the ball. I mean, no one knows why, but I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. That's if.
Well, too, like there was a couple of them as well, like that he was just like there was tons of defenders around him, like just piling onto him. And normally those plays are called dead. And for whatever reason, they didn't call him dead. And there were a couple fumbles out of those too. So normally those plays get called dead. Um, and so I mean, I'm not worried about it.
Hey, who knows, man? Maybe somebody was like sticking their finger up his butt in the pile and then he fumbled the ball. You know what crazy things go on in a pile? Somebody literally, like in a game one time, somebody literally tried twisting my ankle. Like people would do some crazy
Oh,
things in
there's
a pile.
there's
Yeah,
a
like
lot that
an
goes down.
offensive lineman forcing a fumble on a running back that plays on the same team as you. I seen that
Yeah.
today. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Uh,
eye gouging, a lot of finger poking, a lot of
Pinching of the back of the neck and,
or
sticking
or,
their
or
finger through your ear or something like that.
grabbing in very sensitive areas,
Yes. Oh, my God. Ugh.
tapping in very sensitive areas. Yeah,
Brought back a memory. Oh, Jesus.
there's a lot that
Um,
goes down in
Yeah,
scrum.
but I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt. JT, that's if he returns and is not in Chicago to pair up with Montgomery. But yeah, I'm not worried about it one bit.
Yeah, me neither. We've been here live for an hour. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask us now. We reached that part of to the live stream. Uh, Also, let if Landon or Mike got anything that they want to say, or just ideas coming up, feel free to say it now. I also thought during the Houston Texans game when the Colts had us on the edge of our seats about winning, and then Brayton Smith went out. the light shined on the sideline. If you guys didn't see it, our savior Matt Pryor stepped on the field and got a few snaps in. And at that point, I was like, "All right, we're losing." Mike, what's your thoughts on your boy from TCU, Matt Pryor, when he got on the field?
When he got on the field, to be honest, man, I wasn't even watching the game.
Oh,
I
you didn't
wasn't.
miss
I
much.
wasn't watching that part. I wasn't watching that part. I was helping, getting some bags down from the car during that, and then I come back and say, "Oh, Matt Pryor's in." But how do I feel? Would have felt better if he was managed properly from the start of the season. But other than that, I'm sure he'll probably have a nice time tomorrow night. So other than that, my heart goes out to him.
Yeah, I mean, really, there's not really too much to talk about right now until, well, I mean, like, there's plenty of stuff to talk about, but I'm saying, like, until we get this coaching situation figured out and, at least we get some interview candidates that we can talk about and some guys that will be interviewing for the job or not interviewing for the job that decline interview requests. I'm sure we'll hear about a couple of those will leak out. Yeah, that's the main focus right now is who's coaching this team here in a few weeks. Hopefully we'll find out. Tomorrow is the day that things usually start to go down. Guys start getting fired. Guys start getting released here shortly as well, and we'll find out the fate of Chris Ballard for sure. I'm excited, or I'm excited, and other people might not be excited to hear from him finally. Normally, like I said, normally he does the quarterly press conferences, and he hasn't done those this year. He's been the only time we've seen him since the very beginning of the season was during that Jeff Saturday press conference, and he looked like he could have wanted to be anywhere else in the world. So I'm excited to see, one, whether he sticks around, but if he does stick around, I want to hear from him. I want him to explain what the hell happened, what's going on, what have you learned from this season? Are you going to change your approach? Do you see, with the way teams are winning in the NFL, going with quarterbacks, pass catchers, defensive end, like, obviously that's not what he believes, and I'm curious to see if his belief has changed with the success that other teams have had and the failures that he has had. So I want to hear from Chris Ballard. I want to hear from Jim Irsay. Actually, you know what? Scratch that. I don't
want to hear from Jim Irsay.
No, yeah, scratch that. I don't want to hear from Jim Irsay, but I do want to hear from Chris Ballard. And I know tomorrow they will be having a press conference. Jeff Saturday will be having a end-of-season conference he's going to speak at. So we'll see what he says as well. I think he's going to go into a little bit more of whether he's going to interview what happened this season, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, right now we're just kind of stuck at a standstill. But tomorrow stuff's going to start popping off. And yeah, it's going to get pretty wild here in the next few weeks.
Definitely going to be looking forward to that.
Last year, after the season, it took a little while for Chris Ballard to have that end of year press conference. It took him a little while. Was he just running from the heat? From his words, he had to let the poison out. Personally, I don't think it was really that, but is it already confirmed Chris Ballard's going to be talking tomorrow, or
not tomorrow? The only one I know tomorrow is talking Saturday
away from the team.
Yeah, I think Saturday's talking tomorrow, and then you'll probably have some coordinator talk, possibly and stuff like that. But I don't know if it's confirmed he's talking tomorrow. I don't think it is. I would imagine it would either be towards the end of this week, maybe like a Thursday or Friday, or possibly sometime next week. More than likely, when you're
honestly, it shouldn't take that long. It really I hear what you're saying. Like
he should be out there. He should be out there tomorrow. Absolutely,
he should be out there. Yes, like this isn't like last year where they took 2 weeks. It was already the divisional round where Chris Ballard decided to, oh, hey, okay, guys, I want to talk. No.
I think there's a good chance that happens again because, like I said, he's been a hermit this entire season. I don't think he's in any rush to get out here and face the music. And
yeah, I get it.
That's going to be telling right there. So who knows? Tomorrow we could be in the GM search. We don't know. I fully expect, and everything that I've heard is that he will be returning, but it's it's going to be interesting, and we're going to start hearing about interview requests being made. Obviously, Harbaugh is the big one, and they will more than likely have an interview with Jim Harbaugh. We'll see what happens. So,
hey Jim, can Jeff, I really
All right,
admire.
that's gonna be the end of.
I really admire Jeff. Can he be your special assistant? I really like what he did against the Raiders this year. Could he be, it's going to be something like that. But back to Chris Ballard. I want to hear from him as soon as possible. As soon as possible. I don't want another delay. I don't want whatever it was last year. He took a whole 2 weeks to finally talk to the media. And yeah, I get it. He'll stay longer than what the PR rep wants him to. Hey, we'll target 25 minutes. No, you're here for an hour. I get all that, but I want to hear from him Tuesday, Wednesday. We'll be talking to Dio Odengbo and Jelani Woods tomorrow. So excited to have that conversation with them. But other than that, man, I want to hear from Chris Ballard. That's the one guy I want to hear from. I don't want to hear from Jeff Saturday because really there's nothing I really need to hear from him. Everything revolves around Chris Ballard. That's the next thing. That in terms of marquee event, that's the next thing up for me personally.
Yeah, I agree 100%. So hopefully we get that news tomorrow. You guys stay tuned. If you haven't already, subscribe, hit the like button, comment as well. Appreciate everyone showing support from all platforms: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, all that good stuff. So you guys definitely tune in. We'll have more content dropping later, especially if Ballard happens to speak tomorrow. So you guys tune in. That's Michael, that's Landon, it's Marcus, and we are out. Enjoy this off time. Root for the Bills. I know I will be. Michael and Landon, are you guys rooting for anybody before we head out?
yeah, Bills, Bengals. Yeah, I mean this. I don't know. I just want to see some good football. I've had a whole season of bad football, so I want to watch good football.
There's one team I'm going for. I'm a rock with Jacksonville, man. I like rocking with the underdog. I'm a rock with, well, obviously Buffalo for obvious reasons, but yeah, I'm a rock with Jacksonville. If Washington would have got in with Taylor Heineke, then I would have went with them because I'm a Taylor Heineke guy, like his story, but clearly Ron Rivera ruined that. But I'm rocking with Jacksonville.
All right, there you have it. So you guys definitely tune in. We're gonna be following us on all social media platforms as well if you guys want to stay tuned with us. So definitely look forward to that, and we are out.